I never planned to buy the Evergreen Country Club. It was frankly a business decision that made perfect sense, an undervalued property with immense potential, sitting on prime real estate just outside Manhattan. But I'd be lying if I said watching my parents' faces turn ashen when they discovered I owned it wasn't deeply satisfying. Let me back up. I'm Sofia Martinez, and at 32, I run one of the largest hospitality investment firms on the East Coast. But my parents, James and Diana Martinez, still think of me as their disappointing daughter who wasted her business degree from Columbia by starting at the bottom of the hospitality industry instead of taking the cushy corporate job they'd arranged. Real experience, I told them when I started working as a waitress at various high-end establishments. I need to understand every aspect of this industry. Experience. My mother had scoffed. You're just afraid of real responsibility. They never understood that while I was serving drinks and taking orders, I was also studying operations, analyzing customer patterns, and building a network that would later become invaluable. By 25, I had started my own consulting firm, helping struggling luxury venues turn their businesses around. By 28, I was buying them. But my parents never knew any of this. After yet another dinner where they compared me to my successful older brother Michael, who, by the way, was running our father's company into the ground, I decided to keep my success to myself. I maintained a modest apartment, drove a reasonable car, and let them believe I was still finding my way. Then came that fateful day at the Evergreen Country Club. I was there conducting a final inspection before closing the deal to buy the property. The club was struggling financially, but its bones were good, and its membership list was impressive. I knew exactly how to turn it around. Miss Martinez? Thomas, the club manager who was in on the impending ownership change, approached me discreetly. Your parents just arrived for their usual Sunday brunch. Should I seat them elsewhere? I smiled, straightening my simple black dress. No, Thomas. Seat them in my section. He raised an eyebrow but nodded. My parents had been members of Evergreen for 20 years. They used it to network, to show off, and most importantly, to feel superior. Today they were hosting my brother Michael and his wife Emma, probably to celebrate another of his mediocre achievements. Good morning. I approached their table with a professional smile. Welcome to Evergreen. May I start you with some beverages? My mother's champagne flute froze halfway to her lips. Sophia? What are you doing here? I work here, I said simply, enjoying the horror spreading across her face. You're a waitress? She hissed, looking around frantically to see if anyone had noticed. At our club. My father's face had turned an interesting shade of red. For God's sake, Sophia. We're members here. Do you have any idea how this looks? Now, James, my mother cut in, her voice sickly sweet with fake concern. I'm sure this is just temporary. Everyone has difficult periods. Michael smirked behind his menu. Well, at least someone's serving us drinks. Though I have to say, sis, I didn't expect it to be you. I maintained my professional demeanor. Would you like to hear today's specials? What we'd like, my father growled, is for you to stop embarrassing this family. First, you throw away a perfectly good career path to find yourself, and now this. Don't tell anyone you're our daughter, my mother added, her voice dropping to a harsh whisper. We have a reputation to maintain. I nodded, keeping my expression neutral. Of course. Now about those drinks. The rest of their brunch was an exercise in restraint. They spoke about me as if I wasn't there, lamenting my life choices while I served them their overpriced omelets and mimosas. Michael kept making snide comments about career guidance, while Emma giggled behind her napkin. Did you hear about the club getting sold? My father mentioned between bites of his eggs Benedict. Apparently some hotshot investor bought it. Probably going to ruin the place. As long as they maintain standards, my mother sniffed. We don't want this turning into one of those nouveau riche establishments. They only knew. I finished my shift and went home to my modest apartment, actually the entire top floor of a luxury building I owned under one of my holding companies. As I reviewed the final paperwork for the club's purchase, I couldn't help but smile. The transfer would be announced next week at the club's monthly membership meeting. My parents, as founding members, would be required to attend. They had no idea that their embarrassment of a daughter had just bought their precious club for $25 million cash, along with the surrounding 100 acres for future development. But they would find out soon enough. Sometimes the best revenge isn't served cold. It's served with a perfectly chilled glass of champagne and an announcement that changes everything. What happened next would shake the very foundation of their carefully constructed social world. But that's another part of the story. The membership meeting was scheduled for 7 p.m. on a Friday evening, exactly 1 week after that mortifying brunch service. I stood in my office, yes, the owner's office that had been quietly renovated over the past month, adjusting my tailored Chanel suit and Cartier watch. No more simple black dress. Tonight I would finally be myself. Thomas knocked on my door. "Ms. Martinez? The members are arriving. Your parents just checked in." I smiled, remembering their behavior last week. "Perfect. Is everything ready?" "Yes. The champagne is chilled, the presentation is set up, and the new contracts are prepared." He paused, trying to hide his grin. "I placed your parents in the front row as requested." The grand ballroom of Evergreen Country Club was packed. 200 of the area's most influential families sat in neat rows, my parents front and center, precisely where I wanted them. My mother wore her favorite Gucci dress, while my father sported his custom-made Italian suit, their armor of affluence. I watched through the side door as Thomas took the stage. "Good evening, distinguished members of Evergreen Country Club. As you know, we're here tonight to announce some significant changes in the club's ownership and management." My mother leaned over to whisper something to my father, probably another comment about maintaining standards. Michael and Emma sat behind them looking bored. "It is my great pleasure to introduce our new owner," Thomas continued, "a brilliant entrepreneur in the hospitality industry who has transformed numerous prestigious venues across the East Coast. Please welcome Ms. Sophia Martinez." The silence that fell over the room was deafening. I walked onto the stage, my heels clicking against the hardwood floors. My mother's champagne glass slipped from her fingers, creating a melodic shatter that echoed through the stunned room. "Good evening," I said into the microphone, looking directly at my family. "Thank you all for coming tonight." My father's face had gone from red to white to a concerning shade of purple. Michael sat frozen, his mouth hanging open unattractively. But it was my mother's expression that I'll never forget, pure, unadulterated shock mixed with the dawning realization that she had monumentally miscalculated. "As your new owner," I continued, "I want to share my vision for Evergreen's future. But first, let me tell you a story about understanding true value, not just in properties but in people." Over the next 30 minutes, I outlined my plans for the club, the renovation of the golf course, the expansion of the spa facilities, the new farm-to-table restaurant. With each point, I demonstrated exactly why I had spent years learning every aspect of the hospitality industry. This wasn't just about revenge. It was about proving I had become exceptional at what I chose to do. After the presentation, as members crowded around to introduce themselves to the new owner, my parents remained rooted to their seats. Finally, my father approached, his face a mask of confused anger. "How?" he demanded. "How is this possible?" I handed him my business card, sleek, black, with my title as CEO of Martinez Hospitality Holdings. That experience I was getting? It built this. My company owns 15 luxury properties across 3 states. Evergreen is just the latest addition. But you were serving us drinks last week," my mother stammered, finally finding her voice. "Yes," I smiled. "I always personally evaluate every property before purchasing it. The best way to understand a business is from the ground up." "Why didn't you tell us?" Michael interjected, trying to sound casual, but I could hear the strain in his voice. "Would you have listened?" I asked quietly. "Or would you have dismissed it as another of my temporary projects?" My mother's eyes darted around the room, suddenly aware that others were watching our exchange. "Darling," she said loudly, plastering on a bright smile, "we are so proud of you. What a wonderful surprise." "Really?" Kept my voice level. "Because last week I was an embarrassment you didn't want to claim as your daughter." The smile froze on her face. "Your membership cards, please." I held out my hand. "What?" my father sputtered. "Your membership cards," I repeated. "I'm revoking your membership. As the owner, that's my prerogative." "You can't do that," he hissed. "We're founding members." "Actually, I can. And I am. You see, I don't want anyone in my club who judges people based on their job title or treats service staff as beneath them." I turned to Thomas, who had appeared at my elbow. Please escort my parents out and ensure their belongings are removed from their locker. This is outrageous. My mother's voice rose, drawing even more attention. We are your parents. Yes, I agreed, and you taught me a valuable lesson about worth. Thank you for that. Now if you'll excuse me, I have other members to greet. As they were led away, I heard the whispers start, how the Martinez's daughter had bought the club right under their noses, how they hadn't even known about their own daughter's success. By tomorrow it would be all over their social circle. Michael tried to approach me later, his tone conciliatory. Sis, I was just joking last week. Actually, I've been having some trouble at Dad's company. I was thinking with your business acumen. No, I cut him off. Your membership is also revoked. You can reapply in a year, if you can demonstrate that you've learned some humility. Over the next few months, Evergreen transformed. I implemented all my plan changes and membership applications soared. My parents tried to reach out several times, each attempt more desperate than the last. They'd lost their social standing, their prestigious club membership, and most importantly, their illusion of superiority. One day, Thomas brought me an envelope. Inside was a note from my mother. Sophia, we were wrong. We didn't see your worth and we're sorry. Please, can we talk? I kept the note but didn't respond. Some lessons need time to sink in. Sometimes success isn't about proving others wrong, it's about proving yourself right. And sometimes the best response to those who undervalued you isn't immediate forgiveness, but letting them live with the consequences of their judgment. As for me, I'm planning my next acquisition. There's a lovely resort in the Hamptons that needs new ownership. I think I'll start by working as a housekeeper there next week. After all, the view from the bottom shows you exactly how to reach the top. 6 months after taking over Evergreen, I sat in my office reviewing the club's latest financial reports. Our revenue had doubled. The waiting list for membership now stretched over 2 years. Success tasted sweeter than any revenge. A soft knock interrupted my thoughts. Ms. Martinez? Thomas entered, looking slightly uncomfortable. Your parents are here. Again. This was their 5th attempt this month. Ever since losing their membership, they'd tried everything: apologetic emails, tearful phone messages, even sending my childhood photos to my office. The social humiliation had finally cracked their pride. They're not alone, Thomas added. Your brother's with them. I checked my Rolex, the same one my father once told me I'd never be able to afford. Give me a minute. Through my office window I could see them in the lobby. My mother had lost her usual haughty expression. My father seemed smaller somehow, less imposing. Michael stood awkwardly behind them, his designer suit a size too big. Probably couldn't afford his usual tailor since Dad's company started struggling. I pressed the intercom. Send them in. They entered like chastened children, not the imperious family who had dismissed me for years. My mother clutched her Hermes bag like a shield. Sophia, she began, her voice trembling. You look successful. I didn't respond, just gestured to the chairs facing my desk. Sweetheart, my father tried. We've been doing a lot of thinking. We were wrong about you. So wrong. Were you wrong about me? I asked calmly. Or are you just sorry you didn't know I was rich? Michael shifted uncomfortably. Sis, Dad's company, we're in trouble. Real trouble. The board is talking about replacing him and my position. Ah, I nodded. Now we get to the real reason for this visit. No. My mother protested, but her eyes betrayed her. We really want to make amends. I opened my desk drawer and pulled out a thick file. Inside this folder is a complete analysis of Dad's company's problems. I had my team prepare it months ago. My father's eyes lit up with hope. The solution is simple, I continued. The company needs new leadership, modernization, and about $15 million in immediate capital investment. You'd help us? Michael leaned forward eagerly. No. The silence was absolute. But we're family, my mother whispered. Funny, I replied. That didn't matter when you thought I was just a waitress. When you told me not to tell anyone I was your daughter. When you celebrated Michael's every minor achievement while ignoring my successes. I stood up, smoothing my designer suit. The file is yours. Consider it a parting gift. What you do with that information is up to you. Parting gift. My father's voice cracked. Yes. This is the last time I'll accept any meetings with you. You taught me something valuable. Success isn't just about money. It's about knowing your worth and surrounding yourself with people who recognize it too. Please, my mother began to cry. We can change. I'm sure you can, I agreed. But not because you want to fix our relationship. You want to fix your social status, your company, your bank accounts. That's not good enough anymore. I pressed the intercom again. Thomas, please escort them out. As they walked toward the door, I added one final thing. The analysis in that file? I did it 3 years ago when I first started buying struggling businesses. If you'd bothered to ask what I was doing with my life, if you'd shown any real interest, you might have saved your company. Think about that. The door closed behind them. Through my window, I watched them cross the parking lot, shoulders slumped, clutching the file that could have saved them if they'd valued me sooner. That evening, I walked through my thriving country club. Members greeted me with genuine respect. Staff smiled warmly. They all received better wages and benefits than ever before. In the dining room, a young waitress was serving dinner with quiet confidence. Sarah, I called her over. How's business school going? Her face lit up. Great, Ms. Martinez. That scholarship program you started has changed my life. I smiled, remembering my own journey. Keep working hard. Learn everything you can. Someday you might own a place like this. Really? She asked hopefully. Trust me, I said, watching her return to her tables with renewed energy. Sometimes the person serving your drinks today might own the whole club tomorrow. Never forget that. Later that night, I added a final note to the club's visitor blacklist. James, Diana, and Michael Martinez membership permanently revoked. Some might call it cruel, but I prefer to think of it as a valuable lesson in humility. After all, they taught me that success isn't just about climbing to the top. It's about remembering what you learned on the way up and helping others make the same journey. As for me, that Hamptons resort is looking better every day. I think I'll start with housekeeping next week. After all, every great success story begins with understanding the foundation. Sometimes the best revenge isn't just proving them wrong. It's becoming so successful that their opinion doesn't matter anymore.